Well, the Unitedhealth CEO Shooter has been caught. But why did it take so long to find him with the amount of evidence that they have out there? And also, why do people see this guy as some kind of hero or anti-hero, folk hero, whatever you want to call him? He's not seen as like a typical shooter or bad guy, if you will. And I want to talk about all of that and tell you exactly what the media will not tell you. And this is just coming from somebody that has a very strong opinion on this, because one thing that I do that a lot of these people in mainstream media don't is actually look at what people say online. And while you can't always take what people say online as the gospel per se, you can get a good idea where people are coming from. And while I may not agree with all of it, I do want to pinpoint why this case specifically has sparked such an outrage and actually made people turn against the victim and root for the shooter in this case. Now, of course, I'm going to lay out my strong opinion, and I want to hear yours afterwards. Let me know why you think, or what the main reason you think that people are so invested in this specifically. Leave some of those things down below. I want to see your comments on why you think this specifically has caused so much outrage. Let's go and get into it. Now, before we get started, you will hear me say things like, he hasn't been caught yet. Well, I shot this a couple hours before he was caught, but the reasons why it took so long, with the evidence they had, the reasons people see this guy as some kind of hero, and what the media will not tell you are all still valid and in this video. Just keep in mind, I shot it right before the guy was actually caught. Now, who the victim is in this case is very important. I want to circle back to that, but let's talk about the evidence that's already out there. First of all, the pictures. You know, most of the time when we get pictures, even when it came to the assassination attempt on President Trump, right? It was just a lot of grainy footage, right? We all have incredible cameras in our pockets, every single one of us do, and yet we can never get a clear image of anything, it seems, right? Security cameras are everywhere, and yet we always get this like Nokia type of video footage, and it's like, come on, dude, I got rid of my BlackBerry like 15 years ago, and yet it's still the same kind of quality that you're gonna get even in 2024. But that's not the case here, right? We have some clear-cut images. As a matter of fact, NYPD or FBI released this picture right here of him in the back of the car, I mean, looking right at it. We have him smiling in the hostel. And they were talking about when that image of the, you know, him smiling in the hostel when that first came out, they were like, oh my gosh, we're going to be able to use facial recognition. And, you know, they made it seem like this is going to be clear cut. Oh, over, we're going to know who this guy is by the end of the day. Well, here we are 6-7 days later, and we still don't know. We have some amazing pictures. Okay, well, maybe that doesn't help. They also have DNA from a water bottle, potentially from the backpack that was left as well, because, you know, you cinch up your backpack or whatever, there could be DNA in there. As of 2023, there was like 21 million people with DNA in the database, right? Just in America, by the way, which is like 7% of the population. And the FBI is looking to double that as of 2024. And knowing them, they probably have. I think about half of the states actually require DNA to be taken from you if you're arrested for anything. Even if you're cleared later down the line, they still get your DNA and they hang on to it. So not saying that this guy was in the DNA database, but they definitely have DNA they could pull from. They said there was a fingerprint, but that fingerprint was not enough to be able to pull any kind of information off of. They also have a burner phone and an image of him using the phone. Now I get what a burner phone is, and I understand that could be hard to kind of track down, but still nothing from that either.
I've still got things left to do.
The thing I hope all gun owners can kind of take from this situation specifically is that you need to be ready and you need to be vigilant at all times. No matter who you are, this is very important. Most important pieces of evidence, though, is the fact that this guy wrote a cryptic message on the spent casings, which is delay, deny, and depose. And so essentially people are drawing a correlation because of who the victim is and these words specifically, because it kind of relates to delay, deny, defend, which is used against insurance agencies, because that's a common tactic that they like to use to be able to take in a bunch of money from, in this case, 49 million people, and then deny them whenever they see fit. I mean, there's really no rhyme or reason to that. I think we're looking at something like I don't know, I've seen 23 to 32%, maybe 33% denial rates for this company. That's extremely high. And so anytime you pay a premium for anything, right? Car insurance, health insurance, pet insurance, all the insurances we have to carry in our freaking lives, carry insurance even, you expect to get the results that you paid for. You expect to get services rendered back to you. And healthcare is a very frustrating thing, man. I've been through it. I know it. A lot of y'all have as well. And it is extremely frustrating. And that at its core, I think, is a big reason why this guy hasn't been found. So you have a guy that's making $10 million a year, Unitedhealth, $281 billion a year. This guy has allegedly been involved in some like insider trading or something where he made a bunch of money. And all of this information comes out. And you know what? People know how bad health insurance is. If you are an American, you've been affected by the healthcare system, you've been denied, you know somebody that's been denied. And then for a good portion of us, we know somebody that's been taken from us because they've been bankrupt, things weren't covered, procedures, it took too long, or the pre-authorizations. Maybe the thing was covered, but maybe you had to go through an entire process in order to get your situation or a family member's situation, a surgery, or whatever it may be. You had to get that covered. Or maybe you got a bill in the mail for something you thought would be covered, but it ended up not being the case. You have people paying hundreds of dollars a month, right? Last year alone, me personally, just for my family, $1,500 a month. Boom, gone, just like that. You guys, I know a lot of you are in similar situations. And so it is a corrupt system. And so you have people that are looking at this like, or maybe I was under this plan. I'm actually rooting for the shooter. I don't know that it's unheard of, but at the same time, it definitely, when you look at like a situation like this compared to, the guy that tried to assassinate Trump, right, a few months ago, two totally different things. You had some wackos that were rooting for that guy, but for the most part, even people that didn't like Trump were like, dude, that's just going way too far. In this case, it seems like probably over 50% are actually pulling for the shooter because they've all been affected by that. They're seeing him as kind of like the face, essentially, of one of the biggest problems in our country. And so they're calling the hostel that released the images of the guy smiling, they're calling them freaking like narcs. They're saying, hey, you shouldn't be releasing any information to police. You got a $10,000 thing from the NYPD, you got $50,000 coming from the FBI. I assume if he's not found within another couple of days, that'll probably be raised, because once you start talking about 50, 60, 70, 80, 100,000, 200,000, people are a little more likely to talk then, right? And so I think if they raise it up enough, or if, people see $50,000, they're like, maybe I will kind of, turn this guy in or whatever. But I think that's a big part of it, man. People just don't want anything to do with it. They don't want to talk to the police. They're supporting what he's doing. And I believe it is simply that and why this guy has not been caught yet. Now remember, they found John Wilkes Booth 12 days after assassinating President Abraham Lincoln. No internet, no DNA, no pictures, no nothing, right? Just the people that were there, and they were able to find him 12 days afterwards. This guy, with the media attention, with all of the evidence and all of that, even 5, 6, 7 days, that's a long time, dude, for this guy to just basically disappear, right? They know the route he took from the Hilton. They know he's probably not in New York any longer. They still can't track him down. And you have a good majority of the country, just based on social media comments alone, that don't agree with people turning in evidence or trying to catch this guy. They actually agree with the one that did the shooting. Here's one thing I want to tell you that the media will not, though. They refuse to pay attention to this. And it boggles my mind. But media, politicians, I can't say none of them, but a lot of them do not look at what people say online. They just don't. They don't look at the comments. when videos like this come out or situations happen like this, to get a read of how people are feeling. When we elect people, right, we are their constituents. We put them there for a specific purpose. And if we have an opinion that we're sharing in the public square, it's very easy because we're not right there in front of the politician that we've elected or, government officials or whatever. We're not right there in front of them. So it's really easy for them to just kind of, I'll just click that off or not even look at it so I don't have to pay attention to it. Regardless of whatever outcome happens in this case, regardless of the guy that even did it, the healthcare system in this country 100% has to change. You notice they're changing itineraries for CEOs at these companies. They're removing their names and their faces from the website. They know could be potential targets for copycats. The media will treat this as what it is. It's a hot button topic. They're going to talk about it. They're going to get clicks and all that kind of stuff. And then guess what? They're going to go to the next thing. Politicians, without hearing you and your input, are going to do the same exact thing. So it's always a good lesson, I think, for us and a reminder to make sure that we get these messages directly to them. Email them, call them, whatever. But let them know that changes need to be made. And then this entire story won't just be another story and it won't all be in vain. Maybe there can be real changes that come from it. But that's just my opinion, and of course I want to hear yours. No matter if you agree or disagree, let me know what you think down below. Big thanks to you guys. See you in the next one, and as always, hold them down.